Welcome, nutritionradio.org listeners. This is Lonnie Lowry, the University Nutrition Professor of over 20 years and podcast host of long-running shows like Iron Radio. Come on in. Monday Market News from the food world. Hey, everybody. Well, as we head into week 3, longevity and time investment is something that we're keeping an eye on in this pilot season of the podcast and, of course, the YouTube video backup. As in the past, so far, the YouTube time investment for actual videos and slideshows of each episode probably isn't worth it. In Season 0, we're not advertising, right, or we're not announcing much. So the feedback from the existing listeners is really important. So thanks to D. Friars 3422, to Gabby Fairbanks, and David Jafarian 1138 for just sort of offering a little bit of feedback about whether or not they think the video slideshows and whatnot are worth it. The one hope moving forward in perpetuity would be that the Fitness Fridays would be actual Skype recordings with guests occasionally. And we also plan to do bonus episodes. So if you don't like the 10 to 15 minute format, again, that's very doable if I just stick to audio. We will do bonus things in some video. Okay? So let's get to the markets topic, though. This is really interesting stuff if you're a science nerd like I am. This is from the Institute of Food Technologists. AI is the missing ingredient in food R&D. This is from Suraksha Rajagopal, the head of research and strategy at a company called Spoonshot. Again, AI is the focus here. And so the idea is that it's becoming increasingly evident, he says, for researchers to not just use consumer panels in silos, but to have to think beyond that, right? Instead of just having a little focus group. I don't know if you've ever thought about this, but where does your food come from? Not all product launches are successful, and it's usually at least informed by doing little focus groups and doing different types of just discussions and getting qualitative and, some quantitative things going on, but qualitative feedback from listeners like, oh, I like this and I don't like that, This article talks about chickpeas, for example. If you could follow the trends, you'd see people are liking chickpeas as sort of an ingredient or a flour source in a sense. But again, becoming increasingly evident that researchers cannot use consumer panels in these silos. The author goes on to say that the companies need insight into what consumers think of their products, but the screening process required to get this sort of consumer panel, if you will, doesn't give a complete picture of everybody who's out there, right? So it's very important to think about who you're interviewing. For example, if someone's a heavy coffee drinker, that meaning more than 4 cups a day, for example, that may not be indicative of the whole bell curve, right? Normal curve distribution of people that are out there. So they have to be very careful when it comes to perception of the brand or what trends are out there. And again, we're going to link this back to artificial intelligence. It says today companies have higher amounts of data. They have reviews. So think about like Amazon or YouTube videos, different social media comments. I've seen people, they just take it upon themselves to review pretty much everything they can think of. Recipes, again, user-generated videos. So there's all this data, and food companies need to take this and say, okay, what do people on average, what do they want? Is there a market for this functional food, right? Something that's got a specialty ingredient. Maybe it's a special fiber or amino acid or protein or whatever it might be. Is this a good idea? Is this going to sell? It said if all product launches were successful, maybe companies could ignore these data. Almost 80% of product launches fail, according to the author. Again, this is from IFT. Half because companies do not understand their target audience very well. So you know where I'm going with this, and the author is going here. Artificial intelligence can uncover these hidden opportunities by tapping into huge volumes of data. Again, these disparate things that are digitally, they're online, they're things that can be gathered, and then weave them together so the product gets made according to what people actually want. Instead of running advertisements, and I've heard this before, instead of running ads to convince people to buy your product, why not just make a product that a lot of people want? So that's sort of the idea here. Big companies are looking at AI for this kind of thing as far as, again, part of the R&D and innovation process. And I would suggest that you do go to this website. I can link it on the YouTube channel, for example, our backup, Suraksha Rajagopal. In any case, the question I have for everybody is really, what are your thoughts on using AI to inform product development? Is this kind of creepy? I don't know if you've played with some of these AI. Some of this is open AI type things like Chat GPT. Have you heard of this? You probably have, but it's relatively new to me. But it makes the interaction with the artificial intelligence computer, it's more conversational. So you can ask all kinds of things. I can only imagine in academia they're going to have big problems. Because if you could say, not just ask, but command, write me a 2,000-word essay on, and then pick a topic. Specialty fibers in microwavable foods. It will do that. And then that becomes very challenging then for professors and for the instructional designers and everybody else at universities, because how do you identify what's fake, what was just generated from AI? They turn in this paper. It won't necessarily show up as plagiarism because it was created within seconds by an artificial intelligence. So some people, of course, don't like this idea. It's making us all dumber, right? Collectively, we're becoming smarter, but individually, we're becoming dumber. That's sort of the idea. But this article goes on to say that it's increasingly obvious that AI is going to become not just nice to have, but need to have in the food industry. And again, the author here I know is specifically looking at the food industry. That's why this is in the IFT magazine this month. It says, if AI can create poems, art, and content, why not food? Now, of course, we're still early days. Things are not perfect. At blog2.com, Eat and Drink, this is just a staff article, but it's entitled ChatGPT is not the future for restaurant recommendations in Toronto. And this piece specifically goes on to talk about how, although AI, right, ChatGPT, this conversational kind of thing, is having a moment, and it's currently worth $29 billion, that it's not really doing a good job pointing out the best restaurants when you ask, for example, what are the best restaurants in Toronto? And the question itself really matters, right? Where to eat in Toronto? I've heard that a well-asked question half answers itself. That's true in science. I think it's true in general. Garbage in, garbage out. The computer's only going to work with what you ask. So asking the right questions becomes a big deal. But, of course, then you can turn to AI to help refine and ask the right question. Now, this could all just be because this ChatGPT is only trained on internet data through 2021, so you really need super current kinds of things, but they are coming down the pike. So what are your thoughts on this? I'd love to hear. You can send me an email at lawnman7@hotmail.com if you don't like the YouTube thing. I'm not a huge fan of chasing any YouTube algorithms, and it shows. But AI, artificial intelligence, inventing food that you actually want. Very interesting stuff, and it's going to be a trend. It's not going away. It's really blowing up, and maybe give it a shot. If you haven't taken a look at some of these things, like the ChatGPT, it's just a website. There's YouTube videos on how to basically just register and use it. But we're going to have AI participating in inventing our food. Is it good or bad? Let me know. Thanks, and we'll see you next time. The NutritionRadio.org podcast is for informational purposes only. If you're interested in starting a diet or exercise program, check with your physician, nutritionist, or qualified exercise physiologist in order to make the progress that you need.